Welcome to Chok Muay Chats, episode 46. I am Joe Comerford, commentator, content creator, and Muay Thai nerd. We're here with another special guest today who is making leaps and bounds in the sport of Muay Thai in many different avenues, whether it be through media, fighting, also creating stories and narratives around the fighters themselves. So I've got a special guest, Kennedy-Reilly Maze. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Joe.
No worries. Now, for those who don't know, this episode will be aired on YouTube and Spotify as usual. So please like, subscribe, all that jazz that you guys like to do. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty of it straight away. Can you tell people who you are and what you do?
Yes, my name is Kennedy-Reilly Maze. I am an American Muay Thai fighter, and I have been competing now for, I think, probably the past 13 years or so. But yeah, I made my way out here to Thailand. I've been living here for the past 2 years. I live in Pathum Thani, training at a gym called Tor Seng Tianoi. And I'm just kind of getting my feet wet in my pro career out here and just trying to take on the opportunities that I'm given.
Awesome. Awesome. And you certainly have been doing that over the last little while in terms of the media part. Now, how did you first discover Muay Thai? How did you first make your step into the art of eight limbs?
Yeah, so I had just moved to a new city when I was about 14 years old, and it was like the middle of a school year, and I was having kind of a hard time fitting in and was even going through a little bit of bullying. So I had asked my mom if I could just do homeschool or just finish the year online so I didn't have to just worry about having to fit in. And she said, sure, as long as you did like a sport, something to keep you just involved with people. And at the time, like I had growing up, I did ballet and I had to play like instruments. Those were my choices. I wasn't really allowed to do contact sports. So just knowing what I was familiar with, I went back to ballet, but I did not like really fit in with it. I was kind of a tomboy growing up, grew up with brothers, and it was funny, like the night I came home from dance, I was flipping through the channels on TV. I think I came across women's MMA and it just caught my eye and I was like, wow, I've never seen women competing for sport. And I called my mom over, asked her if I could do it. She was like turned off from it at first, but someone in my family, my brother-in-law, he knew about Muay Thai and he said she should try that out for fighting because it's not just about like beating someone up. There's a lot that goes into the sport of Muay Thai, a lot to do with respect and the culture of it. So that's what led me to a Muay Thai gym.
And how long were you training before you had your first fight?
I think about a year and a half. Yeah, and at the time they had like smoker fights. So maybe that's like an American term, but it's kind of like where it's a unsanctioned fight. Basically, you just kind of show up and you weigh in. They try to match you up with someone that's like around your weight.
Yeah, so for those in Australia or listening abroad, sparring days is what we call them. But yeah, smoker fights essentially like unsanctioned amateur fight with pads and sort of like Thai style. You just look at who's
Hmm.
kind of similar size,
Yeah.
similar experience. Yeah, I had a lot of those when
Hmm.
I first started. So beyond the smoker fights, did you get into the amateur scene in America, like things like the Muay Thai Development League, or was there any of that around your area at the time?
At the time, Muay Thai Development League wasn't a thing yet. It became something a couple years after, I want to say, just because those smoker fights, they became like illegal. They didn't want to have them anymore just because they weren't like the safest way to go about things. But because I was under 18 when I had my first fight, it was hard to get matched up. There wasn't many there wasn't a big youth scene in California. That's where I'm from. So I think I had, after my first smoker fight, I had a sanctioned fight. And then I turned 18 about a year later, and then I started competing on like Kelly fights, WCK fights, and a couple other promotions. Yeah, I had done some tournaments as well, like the USMTOs. I also did the first ever amateur WBC tournament, which was a really cool experience. I got to face Janet Todd in the finals.
Oh,
And
wow.
then, yeah, yeah, that was quite cool. At the time, we had been sparring kind of often with each other. She was one of the first ever females that I had the opportunity to learn from. And we she was just about to go pro, I believe it was. She had just came back from Poland, the World Games, I believe it was. And I was so early on in my amateur career, maybe like 15 fights in or something. But yeah, it was a cool experience. I think I fought like 3 times that day in the span of like 4 or 5 hours. So, to meet a woman of that caliber in the finals, it was really cool experience. But yeah, then I went on to do the IFMA tournaments as well, and that was like my first international showing. I was 21 by that time, so that's been a little bit of like what I've done.
Now, were you on the USA team during the IFMA Games?
Yes, that was for the 2019 IFMA World Championships. I got to compete in the under 23 division.
And you won a silver medal for that, correct?
Yes, I did. We came to Thailand that year for the World Championships, and I got to compete against Russia was my first pool, and then I competed against Philippines and then Thailand in the finals.
What did it mean for you and your confidence representing your country on a stage like that?
That for me at the time was like everything. It was such a big goal of mine. I had actually just moved gyms because I wanted, that was the goal in mind. The coach at the time that I was under was a gold medalist, and I just felt like if I surround myself, with like-minded people, then I can get to where I would like to be. I can learn how to score, and just to represent your country. I felt like that was just such an honor. So to be able to do that, to have that goal accomplished, it really boosted my confidence. Like as a young woman, I was 21 at the time, and to play silver, yeah, it was amazing.
Now, when we talk about kind of the amateur tournament scene, you got your IFMA, you got your WBC tournaments. Do you think these tournaments are worthwhile for athletes to compete in to gain experience or perhaps learning how to score? Because sometimes when we look at these tournaments, the scoring can be a little bit different in terms of criteria on how you would fight at a professional level. But do you think it's still worthwhile for these athletes to go and get the experience in these tournaments?
I do still think that it's worth it. Yeah, it gives you a different look, and it gives you a different mindset around how you could win on a certain stage, right? But also it gives you a look at other countries that you're going to be competing against. And I feel like a lot of other countries maybe have more experience, or they have more opportunity to do these IFMA style events. So I learned quite a lot going to the IFMAs, not just on how to score and how to win the fights in that tournament, but just about the other countries. And I still take that knowledge with me today. Like even in commentating and stuff, I kind of was able to recognize like what the style is of certain countries that I might be fighting. And yeah, like I was amateur at the time, but I was competing against people that were, competing like pro. And I think that it gives you a boost of confidence for one, just to know that you can hold yourself to that level. But also too, it helps you get your feet wet before you like make that move internationally to fight.
Yeah, certainly. I think I would agree with you on that.
Hmm.
It gives you the ability to learn a little bit more about different cultural styles in terms of Muay Thai, because now it's not just one style. It's a global sport. So certainly, learning how to adjust to the different pacing of different styles. Chinese fighters different fight a different way, Russians fight a different way. The list goes on. Now,
Hmm.
going from IFMA and the amateur scene, what was the step into being a professional like?
Oh, so yeah, it was when I made my way out here to Thailand in 2023. Came not I wanted to get a fight, and I knew that that was going to be like a pro debut, but I didn't know what that really was going to be. There wasn't huge expectation behind it. I also too think like a lot of foreigners come over here and they might just have a really small fight and maybe even kind of keep it under wraps just to get the experience while they're here. Go back home, maybe fight a little bit more amateur. And I thought, yeah, maybe that's just what I'm going to do. Where I train at Torsang Tinoy's, we train, pretty hard and we get really good opportunities. And I felt like I was able to push myself and what they saw in me. They were trying to give me certain opportunities to make like a big pro debut, just with different opportunities that they were offering. At the time, it was like maybe a super champ fight, maybe I'm trying to remember. I think there was like a tournament that they wanted me to do at Lumpini, and even like an opportunity for one, but they weren't things that I was ready for. And, it's a big jump. You can't just come here to Thailand and take on certain opportunities. I mean, while some people might, it wasn't something that me or my coaches back home like were ready to do. So we just did a small fight like in Chiang Mai, and it was really good because it helped me develop myself as a fighter and just fighting without the gear. I think that's another thing too. Well, for me, I just felt really free. It didn't really get in my head or anything like that. But after like hearing that, I could receive bigger opportunities, it just made me make the move out to Thailand quicker because that's what I wanted to do for myself. Um, is to take on opportunities, to not have to say no to opportunities, and just to be ready for them when they come, to get the IQ where it needs to be, and just the toughness again at that pro level. So when I moved out here, I did so again smaller fights, like fought in smaller stadiums in Koh Samui, and then I had the opportunity to fight in the King's Cup, which was I think that was the end of 2023, and I was supposed to fight someone that I think she was still early on in her pro career as well from Australia, and it seemed like a good matchup. But
Mm.
she pulled out like the night before weigh-ins, and I got a call from the promoter just saying that my only option is to not fight or to take on a Thai fighter, and they said I would find out who it is at the weigh-in. So I was like, okay, that's fine. And I just wanted to fight, and I really wanted to take the opportunity of King's Cup. I thought that that was a very cool opportunity. So we moved forward with it, and it was at the time I didn't know who she was, but they matched me against Pet, and that
Mm.
was yeah, someone I never would have thought that I would have fought. Like it's funny because, like I said, I didn't know who she was. So even as we stood across from each other in the ring that day, wouldn't have thought that that's someone that competes several divisions higher than me. Uh, uh, yeah, I think when my trainers gathered who I was fighting, they were like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you have a really big fight." But I'm grateful that my team at Torsing Pinoy, they have a lot of belief in me, and they train us to win. And I did not win that fight, but I just went forward and I went there to win. Of course, coming up short of it, it's all right. But that led me on to getting an opportunity to fight on RWS. And it was kind of like another, for me at least, felt like another similar situation, like where I got matched up with someone that I at least didn't know at the time the caliber of the fighter. which was
Mm.
Dong Kong Pha. And again, another fighter that competes just a couple weight classes higher than where I compete. I originally compete like at 48 kilograms. And my I remember my team telling me that they had a really good opportunity for me, uh, and that this fighter had taken some time off, but that like I could win, and we were just trying to strategize against how to do it. And we did fight a little bit higher weight than what I was used to. But yeah, it was a big opportunity to take on, but I was happy with my performance just because when I found out who the fighter was again, uh, and just knowing that caliber of where she's fought, I was just happy to know that I can compete at that level and make it through the 3 rounds and just showcase my heart.
Yeah, it's interesting. You talk about some of those circumstances, and it's, just triggers my mind about some of the issues that females have to deal with when fighting here in Thailand. I suppose one of them is fighting in the different weight divisions because of a smaller talent pool, not just here in Thailand, but abroad. Like, we're seeing a big expansion in opportunities for female Muay Thai fighters, but there's still not as many in comparison to males, mainly because of the fighter pool, but also because in the different weight divisions, there's not enough fighters to really fill those weight divisions of fighters. So you having to, go through 3 or 4 different weight divisions just to get a fight. Just as you mentioned there, I mean, it's I really feel for females in terms of having to go up and then go down, and then also just to get fights, you got to take on people who are much more experienced than you. Sometimes, as you said, like a lot heavier than you. But the other point that you said, that you just spoke about, was when coming to Thailand, a lot of people will not know their own capability. Now, that
Hmm.
wasn't something that you specifically said, but it was kind of the theme of it, is that when you come to Thailand, you really got to know your level and have a realistic view of where you stand. Because a lot of
Hmm.
people that I think that are coming over at the moment have this grandiose idea of their own capability, that they'll be able to achieve all these things. And I think it was really nice that you said, take a small fight first and go step by step in terms of career pathways. Don't just try and go straight to Rajadamnern. Don't just try and go straight to one. You got to play it step by step. And I think that's, it's really good that you kind of spoke about that, because it's something that I've been talking about a lot recently. But you can see in your career taking step by step and then leading to those big opportunities where you take that small first step in Chiang Mai, then you take on a fighter of a higher caliber, and then get up to the next step, and that's a much more realistic kind of career pathway. Now,
Yeah. Hmm.
competing at Rajadamnern Stadium, how did that feel? Because like, that's my second home. How how did it feel for you, being in there as a fighter?
It's electrifying, honestly. The thing about Rajadamnern is it's like, to me, a second home as well, in the sense of I'm there almost every week. Like at that, at least last year, we were competing so much, just different fighters. I felt like I was there either on a Tuesday, or a Saturday or a Friday. And I thought I was going to just feel really comfortable being there because I'm always running around there, just supporting my teammates. But when it came time to fight, it was of course exciting and electrifying, like I said, but I had these nerves come in that I hadn't felt in a while. My RWS debut wasn't at Rajadamnern. It was actually in Korat, which it was the first
Mm.
ever RWS show outside of Raja. And that was a much bigger venue than the stadium. So I would have thought that the nerves would have kicked in at that event, especially because I was fighting Dong Kong Fa, which she was a hometown fighter. But I felt really comfortable when I did that, it was when I came to Rajadamnern, where I just got like that adrenaline rush and that those nerves that kind of kicked in. But it was cool. It's like I think that when the adrenaline kicks in, it gives you the opportunity to lock in and focus, not to get overwhelmed by those nerves. So it's not that it was overwhelming. It was electrifying, and it was like those good butterflies that you get.
Yeah, it's certainly even, as a non-fighter these days, stepping into the stadium every time, it's just electrifying, and you see what GSV have done with the stadium. It's amazing.
Yeah,
Now,
it's beautiful.
in Muay Thai, it's a little bit different to boxing, where we don't really have the luxury of getting padded records and choosing who we fight. So a lot of us get losses and wins on our records. Are there any lessons that you have taken from both wins and losses in your career?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's a really good question because, with wins as a fighter, you're going to experience both. Like, you're going to have wins and losses, and you got to be okay with either. It's a 50-50 game. And as much as we'd all like to win every single fight, or at least, I can say that I'd love to win every single fight, but I haven't. And I've actually think I've learned more from my losses than from my wins. I've even had losses that I've walked away from obviously not happy, but just like with a sense of peace in a way. Like, this is
Mm,
what I came to do. I gave my all. Maybe I was either outclassed, maybe it was something I was going through outside of the ring, that played an effect. And yeah, I think that with wins and losses, you're gonna always get a lesson, but when you can take a loss and you can sit with it and you can acknowledge it, you're gonna be able to take something from it that's going to serve you in life. And I think that that's really important.
yeah, I like that. I think that, this sport can teach you a lot of things and hand you a lot of tools to take into your everyday life. Now, you come from the US, but you've fought here in Thailand professionally as well. What are
Mhm.
your thoughts on the current state of Muay Thai in the US in comparison to Thailand at the moment? Because we've seen a big expansion of Muay Thai over the last kind of 5 years, and you've been active in this period of renewal for Muay Thai. So I'd just like to get your thoughts. Maybe just focus on the current state of Muay Thai in the US, what you think of it.
Yeah, I guess I feel a little disconnected from it just because I haven't been in the scene, right? But of course, I'm still
Hmm.
keeping up with certain fighters that I follow and the careers. I feel like it's still not where it could be. I think that I don't know why I feel like the US has less opportunities than well, we do get really great opportunities as well. I feel like when I went to Australia, I went to a fight show, and I
Mm.
liked a lot of the fighters. I liked the opportunities that they were having, the matches, and just the level of experience that, you know, some of these fighters have had maybe in comparison to some of the US fighters. Maybe that's because Australia is also so close to Thailand. So
Mm.
they're able to go overseas and, maybe rack up more fights or get more international experience. And then say there's, two Australians competing against each other, they have really good experience to test themselves against. But yeah, I think that in America it's still developing. That's what I would say. And I think that they still have just a very westernized approach to things, and that could just be like regarding style. But I would just say that, yeah, whether it's having other fighters from other countries come in to compete against these US fighters or these US fighters going overseas to get more experience, I'd really encourage that.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of issues that we won't need to get into too much, because that would be another podcast in itself about
Hmm.
the differences in the logistics of American Muay Thai. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
certainly still. I think it's still developing. It's got a lot of potential. It's certainly grown a lot over the last couple of years. There's a lot of people working really hard over there to grow it, and you can see like there's a lot more opportunities for professional Muay Thai fighters. You know, the big thing is really the guys coming over here and getting their experience over here and then taking that back home. That's what happened during the 90s, you know, for Australian Muay Thai. It was all you guys like John Wayne Parr, you know, who came over here and then took those skills back home. And that's naturally how global Muay Thai is going to develop. Now, we'll just move on beyond the topic of fighting. Now, at the moment, you are doing commentary at Fairtex Fight on Saturdays. How'd you make the jump into Muay Thai commentary, and was it a natural fit, or do you feel it was unexpected?
Yeah, well, I would say it was definitely unexpected and just like I never really viewed myself as being a commentator, but I faced an injury last year. It's been like a year since I've injured myself now, a little less than a year since I had a surgery for my knee. But I just realized that I was going to be out for a bit of time and I wanted to stay Muay Thai minded because like this sport, it really just provides me with so much. It gives me a lot of drive in my life. So I started thinking like what could I do within the sport to keep me involved? And that was something that I thought about, but I went home for a couple months and the idea kind of like went outside of my mind. But when I came back to Thailand, I had met up with a friend of mine, Matt Lucas, who does commentating as well. And I just asked him, you know, like how I could get involved with something like that. And he trained me for the opportunity. It's not something I think comes naturally for me, honestly. Like um, I like speaking, and I've really been wanting to use my voice more. Like, I don't think that's something that
Mm.
fighters get to do enough is use their voice. But yeah, it's like something that I've had to kind of prepare myself to do. And again, it's just like nerves, I think, kind of come with anything. So it's just about having that confidence, and it's a different like ring presence, so to speak, right? So it's yeah, I know about Muay Thai. I can definitely call a fight, but it's just like having that confidence to do it. And I'm very grateful that I have the opportunity to grow in this outside of the ropes and to strengthen my voice now with commentating.
Yeah, it's one of those things, you know, just like anything, you know, takes practice, takes reps, getting in more reps, building your confidence, just like in the ring. The more fights you have, the more rounds you have, the more drilling you do, the better you get. So, you know, it's just one of those things, and finding your voice, you'll gain more confidence. Now, just looking at the kind of media aspect of Muay Thai, you've recently launched the MyWai project on Instagram. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So my why, uh, that started actually like with a seminar that I did in Australia at the end of last year, and the point of my why was to like give fighters a voice. But first it started with giving myself a voice and just like kind of sharing my experience. So my why, it's like a play on words. Why, it's a reason that we do something. And then why in Thai culture is this, it's the why. And so I just kind of combine its purpose with respect. It's combining purpose with respect. And something like that I shared in the seminar is like, as fighters, we all come into a gym and we become physically strong. Typically, we mentally we become stronger as well. But one thing that we like forget to train is our voices. And like I just wanted to share the power of the voice, and that's something that I touched on in the seminar. But as a little side project, I wanted to do it with fighters as well. You know, just give fighters a voice. And you know, the point of my why, like the way we lead up into that question is the first question I ask is, who are you? But I like to ask the whoever it is that I'm interviewing to use one word to describe who they are. So we're not just, so I don't start every interview with like, who are you? And then everyone says, I'm a Muay Thai fighter, because we all are Muay Thai fighters, or, we have like a certain place here in the sport. But I think that it's better to define ourselves based off of who we are rather than what we do. Because when something like injury, like you're faced with injury, or say your career just
Mm.
comes to an end, I think a lot of us like have identity crisis a little bit, especially fighters. Like if that's yeah.
Preach, sister, preach.
Yes,
Amen.
exactly.
Uh,
Yeah, and that's what I faced when I had my injury. I had this huge identity crisis, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like right now I'm not a fighter, but I am fighting through life, and like I have other things to offer." And I wanted to touch on that, and that's kind of how the idea came about. And yeah, I just wanted to share that with the community. And I think that when we're able to define who we are, like with a word, it helps us figure out like why it is that we do what we do.
so, looking at that, how can fighters use media to better represent themselves and the sport as a whole, do you think?
I think by sharing like your personal experiences, I think that's the best way to connect with an audience. And I think it's something that a lot of us want to do, but maybe some of us don't know how to go about it or don't have the confidence to do it. Um, but I think that's kind of the name of the game now, is like we're meant to share. Like social media has become such a huge thing. And I think there's a fine line between being an influencer and then still being a fighter that's just trying to get opportunities and, is needing to put themselves out there for, to get sponsorships or even matchups. So, yeah, I think the best way to do it is just by being personal. And, when we use our voice, something I like to say is we have choice. We have a choice in how we choose to share our voice. So you can be as deep as you want, or you don't have to be too deep at all. You get to choose how you do it. So, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I really like that. It's not about just making content for the sake of making content, but really trying to open opportunities for yourself. Now, speaking of opportunities, let's move to the subject of women in Muay Thai. How do you feel opportunities for women in Muay Thai are now in Thailand compared to a few years ago?
Well, it's really changed drastically. Like, I'll just give my personal experience from the first time that I ever came to Thailand, which may have been in like 2017. Uh, there was still like signs on the ring that said women or ladies, please do not touch, which that was such a huge culture shock to me to see that, because I guess it didn't really register in my mind that women, the way that women were viewed here, especially like in the athletic perspective. So, even to training at certain gyms, this is why I say come to Thailand. Like if you're a foreigner, come to Thailand and train at different places. Like you don't have to just stay at one spot, right? Go to different places and see how the culture treats you or how the gym treats you at that. And you'll have different experience everywhere, but um you'll be cultured, and that's a positive thing. Yeah, like women's Muay Thai has grown a lot. They had the first ever fight in Lumpini. I think it was after 2019. And one of the girls that competed in that bout was the girl that I competed against in the IFMA finals, a Thai fighter. So I thought that that was really cool. I felt so excited for her. Also felt accomplished like myself, just that I had shared the ring with someone that was making waves like that. And just like what we're seeing now, yeah, having more women on a card, I think that it's inspiring to see when, there's been times where there's no women on a fight card at all, or like I mentioned, not even allowed in the ring at a certain stadium. So yeah, women's Muay Thai is growing, and I think that they bring something special to the canvas and to the community as well. And yeah, I'm grateful to be a part of women's Muay Thai.
And what advice to young women would you give who want to step into Muay Thai seriously?
Hmm. Yeah, the advice that I would give is to stay focused on yourself and on whatever goal is that you have. It's achievable and it's possible. You just have to be willing to take the first step and just to, remember that you are supported, because I think that sometimes as a woman in the community, you may feel like, I mean, for instance, at my gym, there's times in the year where I'm the only female there. And it's like,
Mm.
um, it can feel isolating at times, but you have to remember that, like, it's really not. This is a choice, what we're choosing to do. And you have to remember just that you're strong and that, again, it comes back to focusing on yourself and what your goals are. And yeah, that's just what I would say.
And just continuing the topic of women in Muay Thai, are there any role models or inspirations in women's Muay Thai inside and outside of the ring for you?
Uh, yeah, the first like in role model that I had in the sport was just is my first trainer. I had a female trainer to start off with, and her name is Sheila Telliard, and she helped with the career of Tiffany Van Soos. She was a Muay Thai champion and also the very first ever women's glory kickboxing champion. And I had we started off at the same gym that she started at. That was the same gym that I started at. So Sheila gave me the opportunity to work with Tiffany really early on in my fight career. These are two very strong women that I've always looked up to since the beginning of my career, and that I felt really grateful to be exposed to. It's important to have strong female leads in your life, especially as a woman in the sport. And yeah, like I like to stick to my roots and what I know at the time. That's who I knew, and like still to this day. Tiffany's retired now, but she has like it's just like a lot of a lot of gold to share, I would say. She just came out with like a documentary recently. It's called Kick, and just the way she speaks, it's beautiful, it's eloquent, just like her fighting style. So
Mhm.
yeah. Mm.
Awesome. So, where can people check out that documentary?
It's on YouTube, I believe. I clicked the link in her bio, I want to say, but yeah, it should be on YouTube.
All right, cool, cool. So there's something that you, ladies and gentlemen who listen to my hit podcast, can go and check out. Um, Now just moving back to your personal life a little bit. You've
Hmm.
lived in Thailand for a couple of years now. Now, how's living in Thailand changed your situation personally? Not just in Muay Thai, but thinking beyond Muay Thai.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, Thailand has changed everything about my life. And I think the first thing that I can kind of know on is the fact that it gave me a chance to be independent and just to kind of get away from, like, for me it just the scene, which not that I needed to be away from the scene. I'm happy to be in this. It's an awesome community, and I'm grateful that I have a place in America and a place in Thailand and wherever else it is that that I've traveled for the sport. But like Thailand gave me a chance to kind of just get away from all that I knew and just hone in on myself. It helped me open up, not just as a fighter, but as a person. And it's helping me grow into a woman that I'm really proud of. I've been able to kind of just like kind of get back to who I am. And I'm just very grateful. I'm really grateful for that.
No, that's awesome. I mean, this place changes lives, but I think
Hmm.
it's about yourself as well. You've got to be willing to do the inner work on yourself because, I made some content a while ago about, if you've got baggage that you're bringing with you, this is not the best place
Hmm.
to bring that baggage with you.
Yeah.
You've got to really work on that because it can either do one or two things. Thailand's not going to fix all your problems.
Right.
Sometimes it could, amplify your problems with the easy access to entertainment.
Mm.
You can easily lose sight of your goals, your discipline. And I think it's really important that people realize that, if you've got mental health issues,
Mm.
Thailand's not going to be your quick fix. Whilst this place is amazing, the people are amazing. Everybody knows, I've been married to a Thai for a couple of years and I love Thai people, but it's not about them. It's about the access to, probably an easily accessible life where you can easily lose sight of your goals and your inspiration. So, you got to
Yes.
be accountable for yourself, I think.
Yeah. I think that that's actually I'm happy that you touched on that because I think a lot of people they just want to run away to Thailand, or people, they come out here for a certain amount of time and sometimes they get distracted because, there is certain things that are easily accessible out here. Things are more affordable out here, and it's kind of like it's like a jungle out here. You could be free, right? And it's like for me, I really like training on in like the country. For me it's more of like the countryside, like that I'm training in. For me it's like the jungle. Me and my teammates, we joke around and say that, because I don't want to be in the concrete jungle, which is Bangkok. Like, I really prefer being away from things. And uh I've been really cultured where I train, and I think it's good to take into account where you're going to go train because that can affect your mental health as well.
Mm-hmm.
um, where I train in Pathum Thani, it's a very old school Thai gym, and a lot of people will say that they can't do it, or like I was even told you're not gonna like it when I go there, and it's because like you know they train the traditional Thai way, which is very hard, yes, but also it's like you shower out of a bucket, and like it's just it's very very Thai style. Um, what you see, the way that people live out here, like I don't it's different. It opens your eyes to a different way of life. And for me, that was enriching. Like, but for other people, I've seen them not do well, or like they're
Mm-hmm.
not able to handle that type of environment. But for me, I like the grittiness of it. I, lived at the gym for a year of my life, and I really enjoyed embracing that Thai style way of living and training. And, I live outside of the gym now, and I feel like maybe a little bit more in touch with myself. But in order for me to get in touch with myself, I had to get out of touch with myself, like who I was back in America, just that westernized style of living. And, coming here has helped my mental health. But as you said, like Thailand doesn't fix everything, and neither does Muay Thai. And just like another little message I want to share is for fighters to focus on their mental health, because if you have a brain, you have mental health that you've got to worry about, and it doesn't mean that something's wrong. It doesn't mean that you have to be going through anything, but sometimes it's just good to um, check in with yourself. And if you need extra help, then, it's okay to seek it. And sometimes that's not therapy. Sometimes it's also too mental edge, like a mental coach. I've worked with both therapists and mental coaches, and they've made such a huge difference in my life because while I think that some of us want our coaches to be there for a lot of aspects of our lives, we have to remember that our coaches like aren't our therapists at the end of the day. And like some coaches are really good for technique and everything inside the ring. Some are really good with the
Mm-hmm.
mental aspect, but
Mm-hmm.
you just got to check in with yourself and your surroundings, and what it is that you're receiving, and just make sure that you give what you need to yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point that you make. Muay Thai isn't therapy, whilst it does give you the tools to be able to deal with challenges in life. It isn't therapy, It is
Mm-mm.
certainly a pathway to, helping you deal with a lot of problems, but it's not going to fix everything. And neither will Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
So, really got to be conscious of your mental health and things that you do daily that can impact on your mental health.
Yes.
So if you're gonna come out here, my advice is avoid. It's okay to party, but
Mm-hmm.
definitely avoid any substances,
Mm-hmm.
because you will get locked up. A lot of people sort of come over with the idea, especially with the cannabis laws over the last couple of years that have been shifting and then up and down, but now they've changed, that they think Thailand's a bit of a free for all, but it's not. Like, you might get a slap on the wrist at home for certain things, but over here, no, this is serious business. So don't bring that same attitude over here because you'll get yourself in a world of trouble. I often say that on this podcast is don't do anything that you wouldn't do at home here, or don't hang out with people that you wouldn't dream of hanging out with at home. Don't do that here. It could
Yeah.
lead you into a world of trouble. Now,
Yeah,
moving
that's
beyond this. Oh, sorry, you go.
no, I think the last thing I just want to like touch on with that is I'm glad that you say that because a lot of fighters, even myself, like I've gotten caught up in, you go really hard in fight camp and then you take
Mm,
that weekend off and you take a little break and, you go have a little party or whatever it might be. But like I had to reel in with myself last year. I'm grateful I did it like before the injury that I had. I just decided to like stop drinking and I just decided
hmm
to do that for myself and it was like a 5 month thing I wanted to do and then I got injured during that time and I decided to just like keep going for I wanted to do like a 9 month thing and I'm so grateful that I did that because not only is it the ups and the downs of the fight camp, right, and like going hard in the gym and then going hard outside of the gym, right? But
mm,
it's like if you get injured, a lot of fighters turn to substances and you can get lost in it, just alcohol in general it's not good. And especially think about how much we take a lot of brain damage. And yeah, I'm pretty grateful right now to be surrounded by the teammates that I have because a lot of them are focused on after a fight, relaxing and chilling. And I've been
mm.
at other places in my life where that hasn't always been the focus. So I think that that's just a good message to get out there and to keep, fighters aware of, especially with coming to Thailand.
Yeah, I think it's an important conversation to have. Like uh, I don't pass judgment on anybody on what they do. That's their own personal choice. Personally, alcohol for me has probably been one of the biggest struggles in my life, and I'm fairly open about that. Anybody who knows me is,
Mm,
that I've always loved a bit of the sauce.
yeah.
Um, but I realize that it's not beneficial to my life at all, and especially for brain health, as you
Hmm.
said. And that's a conversation that a lot of us in Muay Thai really need to take seriously. Is that it is so bad for your brain health. If you look at the science, it inflames your brain. It degrades your brain health significantly. Even one standard drink can easily wreck your sleep. There's all this research out there that it is just poison and not good for
Yeah.
you at all,
No, yeah.
especially for combat athletes who are getting bashed in the head every now and then.
Yeah.
And that, for longevity wise, it's something combat athletes really need to consider is it really worth that one night of party and then 3 days of recovery, because it does take about 3 days for your body to fully recover from a couple of standard drinks. So
Yeah. It's
weigh
yeah.
weigh the ups and downs.
Yeah. I've gone through the ups and downs myself and it's always something, especially after like going through that period of stopping and like coming back. Now I just feel like I have more of a consciousness about it. And whenever I don't have maybe the best experience, and that experience could just be waking up the next day feeling not good. I think it just keeps you in mind. But yeah, got to be aware.
Now, going on to something a little bit more positive.
Yep.
Looking ahead into the future, what's some things that you want to achieve in the near future here in Thailand?
So I just want to get back in the ring. Like that's the first step, right? I'm so eager to get back into the ring, and I hope that that's hopefully just around the corner, maybe another month or two of training,
Mm-hmm.
and I can have
Cool.
my comeback fight. But you know what? I kind of want to go backwards now. I want to like build myself back up. I want to do these small fights. I want to go. I mean, I don't really want to travel too much because, like, I just want to, I would love to just save money, stay where I'm at. But like, we have a gym that the family of our gym they're connected with in Koh Samui. Maybe I'll go stay there for a little bit, rack up a couple fights at a smaller stadium there. Maybe I can get some fights, like village fights or countryside fights here in Bangkok. I would really love to just sharpen myself back up before doing anything, as like just talked about having the opportunity to fight on RWS. It's been awesome. So grateful that I was able to take on that opportunity, but I'm not trying to jump straight back into onto that stage. I want to build myself back up and just make sure that I do it the right way so that when I do have my comeback, that it's just I set myself up right. I would love to fight again for RWS in the future. So that would be the goal. There's a really amazing division that's been building up, 105-pound division or the 48 kilograms for the women. That was always like my goal. I always used to say like I want to be a world champion when I was younger. And I always would say I want to pave a way for the smaller fighters. There was never belt opportunities in the pro divisions for like 105 pounds, and I always just wanted to be a part of that. So I want to get back into that circuit, and
Well, now
yeah.
I'll tell you what, there's more opportunities at Rajadamnern at 105 pounds.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. And it just, the bracket is stacking up and just a lot of
Mm,
talent emerging. And I would love to be able to test myself against some of these women in that division. So, yeah, I want to build myself back up and get back into the swing of things and then just see what opportunities will come my way. I'm keen on taking opportunity when it comes a knocking. So, yeah.
And just one final thought. What advice would you give to somebody coming to Thailand for their first time? So I ask this question every single episode. What advice would you give to someone coming to Thailand for the first time?
My advice to someone coming to Thailand the first time would be something along the lines of like, this is a privilege, and it's not a sacrifice, it's a privilege, right? And just absolutely take everything that you can from it. Like, it's going to be hard, but it's going to be so worthwhile. You're going to leave a different person. So wake up every morning, like with a joy in your heart to do whatever it is that you have to. And attend your sessions and just stay focused, like walk in basically, and that even pertains to like after the fight. If you're able to get multiple fights in, don't go out after your fight. Just stay locked in, fight, fight as much as you can. And yeah, stay focused on yourself. And yeah, that's basically my advice.
Beautiful. Love it.
Hmm.
So, well, thank you. Thank you for your time once again. It was great to hear some of your thoughts and your journey in Muay Thai. And I think it's really important to hear different voices now that you are one of the voices in Muay Thai. So thank you, Kennedy-Reilly Maze. This is episode 46 of Chok Muay Chats. You can check it out on Spotify, YouTube, and that's it. Please like, share, subscribe. Kennedy, where can people find you online?
Online, you can find me on Instagram, Kennedy_Reilly. Reilly. That's Reilly. That's
Okay,
about it. I
perfect.
don't have much
So
social media, but oh, and my Y
that's all right.
project. Yeah, so follow my Y project. Yeah, uh,
Yeah,
my
definitely go
dot
check that
Y
out.
dot project. Yeah, thank you so much.
And I will leave the links in the description. Thank you very much. This is episode 46.